If you are someone who is preparing for GATE Architecture 2027, then there is an important update for you. So this year, the GATE 2027 will be organized by IIT Madras, and the most important update here is the revision in the syllabus. Now let us take a look at it one by one. We will compare GATE 2026 syllabus with the GATE 2027 syllabus. Now, starting with the right basics, if you see the basic structure of the examination or the paper is the same. So you are going to have common section A, that is part A, part B1 for architecture and part B2 for planning. But the topics, if you see, there is a major change in them. It is not just a minor revision, but the syllabus has been restructured significantly and made more contemporary, where topics like AI, BIM, Python, machine learning, etc. are also added. Let us take a look at it one by one. Starting with your common section A. So in GATE 2026 section 1, we had architecture, planning and design. Keeping that base same, in 2027, it is renamed as design and graphics. There are few additions like ergonomics, ratio and proportion, scales in design, engineering curves, 1 point, 2 point perspective, light and shadow. These are a few additions. So if you see, the syllabus has become way more specific, more pinpointed and more detailed. In 2026, we had construction management. Now that has been moved to part B1. We will look at it a little later. In terms of section 3, that is environmental planning and design and climate change, here in 2027, that environmental planning, along with that, landscape also has been added. Again, the syllabus has been more detailed. New concepts, newer emerging theories, concepts, ideas again have been added, like life cycle analysis, principles of circular economy, urban heat islands. Again, urban heat islands is not something that is new, but still that has been very specifically mentioned. Carbon footprint, carbon credits. Now these have been very specifically mentioned this time. Along with that, landscape has been merged with environmental planning over here. So again, if you look at the landscape syllabus, here they've mentioned landscape planning, landscape design, landscape suitability analysis, plant characteristics, planting designs, landscape conservation, principles and techniques, social forestry. Now, this is something that is an emerging concept. So this as well has been added. Then moving on to the next section, urban design and conservation. So if you see, previously we had urban design, landscape and conservation together. Now landscape has been merged with environmental planning, and urban design and conservation have been separated out. Here again, in urban design as well, you will see certain additions like concepts of form-based code. This is something that is now more specifically mentioned. Along with that, for conservation as well, various concepts have been specified clearly. Again, historical and contemporary public spaces. This is something that is being now mentioned. Moving on to section 4, A4. Here now town planning, housing and real estate development have been merged. Now earlier, if you see in the previous syllabus, we had planning process as a separate topic. Now this has been merged in your section B2 of planning. Here section 6 of housing from 2026 this had a very you know small syllabus. Now this housing has been merged with town planning as well as real estate development. So again, basics of town planning, planned cities in India, planned cities abroad. This is added. The basics of housing, again, the more or less syllabus of housing stays the same, but there are a few additions that have been mentioned, like affordable incremental housing, housing for special areas and needs. In terms of real estate, earlier we only had real estate valuation. Now, real estate feasibility studies, market analysis, real estate locational decisions, and economic analysis has also been added. Project phasing and construction phasing. This is another new addition. Moving on, if we look at 2026 syllabus here, we had 7 sections for part A. Okay, the services and infrastructure section over here from common section A of 2026. Now this has been merged in your architecture part B1. So if we look at it in 2027, for common section A, we have only 4 sections. That is section A1, design and graphics, section A2, environmental planning and landscape, section A3, urban design and conservation, and section A4, town planning, housing and real estate development. Now, as we move ahead to section part B1 of architecture, here if you take a look at it, the syllabus of history, part B1, B1.1, that is history. Now, earlier it was history and contemporary architecture. Now, here the emphasis is more on the theory of architecture. So, again, here they've specifically mentioned principles of art, design, architecture. Okay. Next, here also additionally, now if you look at it in section in 2026, we had building construction and structural systems. In 2027, that has been renamed as building construction materials and structural systems. So even if you look at it, all kinds of materials and the details have been mentioned over here. So in terms of, if you look at the syllabus here, okay, different types of building materials for walls, floors, finishes, repairs, retrofitting, acoustics, insulation, dam prevention. So these things have been now clearly detailed out or specified more in details. In terms of section B 1.3 from 2026, building services and sustainability. So this had your basic building services and sustainability part was the climatology part. So now this has been split into two here. So if you look at it, you have your climatology part over here as well as building services. So this has been split into two different sections now. So if you look at it in terms of section B 1.2 for 2027, climatology and environmentally responsive design. So climatic factors, classification, solar architecture, building energy audit management, embodied and operational energy. So again, the upcoming contemporary methods, techniques, what is actually being used is all being specified here very, very clearly. If you compare this to the 2026 or earlier syllabus. Again, kinetic architecture, sustainable building technologies, very specific. Coming to building services, again, this additional B 1.4. So again, more or less the services remain the same. right? So your basic water supply, HVAC, drainage, rainwater harvesting, water treatment, sanitary fitting, plumbing systems, etc. At your building level, illumination, lighting, acoustics, building automation, all of that has been there. This was there earlier as well. However, few additions like services for specialized buildings like hospitals, indoor sports stadiums, and high-rise buildings. Again, this is an additional point. So, this building services, if you see from your section B 1.3, building services and sustainability, this building services has been separately carved out, and your climatology has been separately carved out, has been created. There are now two separate sections created. Next is your computer applications in architecture. Now, if you go back to the previous syllabus of 2026, here you will not see computer application as a separate section. Only in section 1, you will just see computer application in architecture and planning as one sentence. But this now in 2027 has been detailed out, made as a completely different section under your part B1 of architecture. So of course you have your basics like AutoCAD and all of that. But in addition to that, the latest softwares that are used, latest modeling, etc., that is being used. So all of that has been mentioned, like 3D modeling, BIM rendering, VR, AR, computational design, parametric design, shape, grammar, and generative design, visual communication, UI, UX, digital design and fabrication methods, CNC mining, 3D printing, and AI, artificial intelligence for architecture. So again, more emphasis has been given on that as well. Now, section B 1.6, project management and professional practice. So earlier, this was a part of your common section A. If you look at it in the 2026 syllabus, you had project management, CPM, PERT estimation, etc. as a separate topic. So that has been added to architecture part now. Instead of the common part, it has been moved to the architecture part. So here as well, you'll see construction project management techniques, CPM PERT, right? Professional practice and ethics, estimation, costing, tendering. Along with that, in terms of professional practice, again, they've clearly specified the role of Council of Architecture, then upcoming other fields related to architecture, like architecture journalism, industrial architecture, plus human sociology, building economics, and interior design. These are a few additions, new upcoming trends that have been added. Now coming to part B2 of planning. That is B2 planning. Yes. So earlier in the previous syllabus, we had only three sections: regional and settlement planning, planning techniques and management, and infrastructure planning. Here, if you look at it, planning history, theories, and techniques. So from the previous syllabus, part A, where you had planning process, this has been shifted to planning part B2. From part A, it has been shifted to part B2 of planning in the new syllabus, along with, of course, a lot of additions. So the basics here again stay the same. Various concepts, like if you see eco city, smart city, etc., that you will also find here in planning process. Okay. Plus, the planning techniques and management part that was here in in the previous syllabus, right? Tools and techniques of surveys, various types of surveys that has been added here into techniques of surveys. All of that has been added in B 2.1. Other than that, your basic theories, garden city, city beautiful, broadacre, radial city, linear city, all of that stays the same. Next, we have planning policy and practice. So again, your regional and settlement planning parts of that have been added here. So constitutional legal provisions, planning as a state subject, policies, programs, URDPFI guidelines, land pooling, land readjustment, land acquisition, participatory planning use. So again, the syllabus here is more detailed out if you look at it. Then coming to infrastructure planning. Now, if you see earlier, you had services and infrastructure in common section 7, right? So this was again, this services and infrastructure was more from your city level services and infrastructure. So now that again has been shifted to your part B2 of planning as infrastructure services and utilities. So water supply, demand, water sources, intake, rainwater harvesting, water distribution, sanitation, on-site, off-site, decentralized sewerage system, flood protection measures, rainwater harvesting, if you look at it. So that was here also earlier, water harvesting systems. So this section has been now reshuffled, detailed out more, and moved from common part A to part B2. Then in the previous syllabus, we had infrastructure planning. So this was basically a transportation planning. Now in this new syllabus, transportation has been clearly mentioned, that has been added with urban land use. So a bit of your urban planning mixed with transportation. Okay, so if you look at it, urban structures and land use pattern, land value capture, land use and land values, greenfield, brownfield development, real estate pricing. Okay, so these again points have been specified more in detail. Now coming to the next section, that is data analysis, remote sensing and geoinformatics. Now if you see earlier in planning techniques and management, okay, of the previous syllabus, you had application of GIS and remote sensing techniques in urban planning as one single line, one single sentence that was mentioned. Now, this has been made as a completely new section under planning of B2. So, again, types of data and sources of planning, tests of normality. Again, it's all detailed out here. ANOVA, then along with that, the upcoming trends as well. You know, various processing tools, aerial photography, georeferencing, what is that? Plus your main upcoming trends or fields like ML, machine learning, Python, smart city, Internet of Things application, IoT application, urban analytics, spatial data infrastructure. So all these upcoming trends have been added. Along with that, if you see from the planning legislation part, That was over here, the local self-governance, Panchayati Raj institution, planning legislation, implementation from previous syllabus. That again has been separated out along with your project implementation. So again, municipal finance, municipal taxation, municipal budgeting, loans, credits, these have been now clearly specified along with the financial viability of a project, cost benefit analysis, project implementation, asset management. So to conclude, if you see overall, the structure is same that like I mentioned earlier, you have these three sections separately. However, there has now the syllabus has been expanded very, very specifically, right? A lot of points, a lot of op- the syllabus has been restructured, a lot of additions as well have been made to the syllabus. Okay. And this, if you look at it, the overall syllabus, it has shifted notably towards digital technologies, sustainability, advanced planning techniques, planning methods, professional practice. Retaining, of course, the old core architectural syllabus that was there, but however, now moving towards the contemporary trends as well. So I hope this was helpful for all of you, whoever's preparing for GATE 2027. Wish you all the best. And we are starting with a new batch of GATE architecture from the 25th of July 2027. The link is in the description below.